I wish that there were more I could say about these two shows. Or at least I wish that there were a more interesting subject to get into at hand. By now, I've been watching New Japan Pro Wrestling consistently for about a few years now. I'm sure I'm not the only fan that could tell you that the Road 2 shows are by far the most useless viewing, outside of maybe if you're a diehard fan that watches everything because you just can't get enough of their six-man tag matches, which there are a lot of. And I know that there are some fans that only show up to watch the big matches that typically headline a lot of their big shows if it catches their attention. But after all these years, I'm still that stubborn wrestling fan that can't help but watch an entire show from start to finish, no matter how bad or how boring it can get in the middle of it. And of all that wrestling, and of all the wrestling promotions that I do follow these days, New Japan is the one that tests my patience more frequently than any other. Not to say that what they do is inherently bad, but like I stated earlier, it's typically just greatly inconsequential. I could not watch a single Road 2 show like any other fan and be perfectly fine having missed them. But unfortunately, the Road 2 shows aren't exclusive to the excessive tag team match formula. Even after looking at the card for both shows, I decided to check out Satsume no Kuni for the same reason why I broke my rule of not watching any Road 2 shows when I do just that. Because I had hoped that the card being presented to me would lead to something interesting. Or at the very least, leave me feeling entertained as a fan on some level, on any level. I tune in because I hope that I'm not going to sit through 2 to 3 hours of wrestling purgatory, knowing that I could be doing literally anything else with my time. Especially when some of my all time favorite matches unexpectedly came from a Road 2 show or a Road 2 show equivalent. I don't hate the formula. I just wish that it delivered more often than it does because it has a potential to be essential viewing if we get the occasional great match or even at the very least an alright card to talk about. No, I'm not naive. The No Kuni shows that New Japan does every year are typically just tag team matches that are there to hype up the bigger shows that are following. But again, I have fond memories of shows like Hainu Kuni 2018 and watching an interesting 8-man tag match, typing up the Okada versus Tanahashi match of that year. And hell, even the show was headlined by Suzuki versus Naito for the Intercontinental Championship. A match that was by no means very good in its execution, but it was an attractive headline match nonetheless. Here in Satsume no Kuni 2021, we got two headlining matches instead of one, following New Japan's relatively new to show formula that seems to be working for them. And hey, I say if you can deliver two GOAT shows back to back, do it. New Japan's done that before. On the first night, we got Roppongi 3K versus El Desperado and Yoshinobu Kanemaru for the Junior Heavyweight Tag Team Championships with a King of Pro Wrestling title match underneath it. And on the second night, we got a tag team match with Tanahashi and Kota Ibushi teaming up against the United Empire. And honestly, I can find it in me to care. And believe me, I went into these shows hoping for the best. And when the shows actually happened, I was left underwhelmed, disappointed, and feeling as if I had my time wasted. And I wish that there were more to say outside of that, but there really isn't. This was just another painfully dull series of Road 2 shows in disguise, and I was better off literally watching any other wrestling show or watching no wrestling instead. The shows died instantaneously from me as soon as the second match on the first show, the Gorillas of Destiny and Jado versus Dangerous Seekers and Doki, I believe, ended in a disqualification, a wrestling trope that's already been beaten to death by WWE, and I'm sick as hell of watching that by now. Yano versus Evil having the most uninteresting and awkward comedy match in recent memory only drove the show further into the ground. And literally just about everything else on both shows apart from the opening match on the first show was just forgettable and not worth speaking on, so I won't. All in all, just tired of the tag team matches that forbid me getting invested in them. I won't go as far as to say that it's a real problem for New Japan. I was just leaving it at being a real waste of time for me. And really, that's all this was.